Donnie and Dolly. The team is supported by ableauctions.ca. Closing your business? We can help.
Just ahead of John Shannon, our Thursday regular. All of our Thursday guests brought to you by Optic Foliar, the only lights-on spray with no damage and no burning to your plant leaves. Plant efficiency, nutrition, and results all combined into a single solution for all stages of growth and safe to use on flowers. Spray it, see it, believe it. That's Optic Foliar. Visit this made-in-BC company online at opticfoliar.ca as we bring in John Shannon, NHL analyst and co-host of the Bob McCown podcast. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great. How are you guys?
Very, very well. Very well. I'm looking at your tweet here from moments ago. Rutherford will be president of hockey operations and find another person for GM. You also tweeted, hearing the deal is done in Vancouver with Jim Rutherford. Your
done.
reaction to that news, and what do you know about Jim Rutherford?
Well, I've known Jimmy. Actually, I show my age. I've known Jimmy since he played. So that's how well I know Jim. And the one thing I will tell you is that when this whole episode started, so what is Thursday? So 8 days. I think this really started 8 or 9 days ago with the movement from ownership in Vancouver to make change. I think they had two people on the list. One was Jim Rutherford. The other was Bruce Boudreau. And I think Francesco Aquilini went out and got the two guys he wanted for this organization.
What are Jim Rutherford's gifts as a hockey executive? And I say gifts because, John, he's lasted a long time.
Well, you know what? I think he's evolved with the game. I think he's changed with the game. I think he understands a lot of aspects of the game that will impress Canuck fans. He may be 72 years old, but I think he thinks much younger. I think he also is, as well as he can make decisions, he's a consensus builder. And all you have to do really in many ways, Donnie, is look at the people that have been around him in the few places that he's worked that are successful. When you look at Ron Francis, isn't that something too? Two guys from Carolina now in the Pacific Northwest fighting against each other for a playoff spot. But Ron Francis, Tom Fitzgerald, Jason Botterill, there are a lot of people that he has helped mentor and work with that are successful in the NHL. And I think that's one of the things that really one of his great strengths.
You mentioned Jason Botterill, which is very interesting because, you know, his tightness with Jim Rutherford going back to Pittsburgh. Hey, John, how do you think this move will be perceived just around the league? Donnie's mentioned, and we've talked about his age, but Lou Lamoriello's 78, John, and, you know, Brian Burke's in Pittsburgh. What do you think about these older veterans still getting jobs at the NHL level?
Well, I think what happens, and really, I think the guy that really started this latest trend was Darryl Sutter going back behind the bench in Calgary.
Yep.
And what happens is that when you get into this business and there is some tumultuous times, you go with the people that you think can deliver, and guys that do have track records and guys that do understand it. And that's what Rutherford does. He does have a track record with people. He does understand where the game is going, you know, and I think in the end, you know, he's not going to be the general manager for very long. They will find someone, and Jim will teach him. And I think that's an important part of this because of the age. You don't want a manager coming in for 2 or 3 years. You want a manager to come in and create a system that hopefully will last a decade and find a way to do it that way. And that to me is the most important thing that Jim will be able to do is reset the system, reset the program in Vancouver. You're right, Rick. This was not a very top-heavy front office for the last 4 or 5 years.
Very scary.
In essence, it was two guys.
Yeah, it was two guys,
and
that was it.
Was two guys. And there was very, very little consensus.
Absolutely.
And you're going to find Jim Rutherford will create consensus. You're going to find that he is transparent.
Yep.
You're going to find that he's accessible. And I think that those are important things in a hockey mad market. The interesting thing is that both Boudreau and Rutherford, Toronto boys, have always yearned to work in Canada.
Yeah.
Have always, and they've had success everywhere else, have always yearned to work in a Canadian market. Bruce has already talked about the difference in the media landscape in Vancouver versus Washington or Minnesota, or even in Anaheim. Jimmy Rutherford is going to love being in Canada, love doing it, and then we'll have his eyes open too to the amount of scrutiny he will now get being the number one sport in Canada's number two English-speaking market.
John, I can't tell you the vibe of this city and how much is changed in a matter of days, from so much negativity to so much positivity. And the owners have finally realized the change was needed. They've gone out and done it. But your thoughts on, is this going to change overnight on ice, or is it going to take some more time? Because I checked the standings this morning, John, and they've dug themselves such a hole that they have to now 10 points behind the Oilers just in the Pacific Division. There's a long way to go.
Enjoy the honeymoon, though, Rick.
Yes.
Enjoy the honeymoon.
I just told you positive.
But there will be a couple of down days.
Yeah.
There will be a couple of down games. But what we're, and let's face it, we saw 2 victories from the Canucks with Elias Pettersson missing 2 penalty shots.
Yeah.
One in the shootout and one in the game. This is what we're seeing now is we're seeing 20 players pull in the same direction.
Yeah.
And that's something, unfortunately for Jim and Travis, didn't exist for the last 10 or 15 games.
Yeah.
Did the Canucks make the right choice in Bruce Boudreau, John?
I think so. I like, again, another friend, as you guys, when you played the stuff earlier in the week, you know that how much fun we have together. He will make it relaxed. He will be more aggressive in the offensive zone. There will be times that he will tear a strip off people. But in the end, I think he understands that for players to be productive is they have to be having fun. And that's what Bruce will ensure this team does, is have fun.
Yeah.
Oh, the other, just before I let you go, John, and with the Board of Governors meetings going on down in Florida, I have to bring this up. This would have been one of the big stories today, but the Arizona Coyotes not paying their bills, apparently they are going to buck up by the deadline. What's going to happen with that franchise, if anything?
Well, I mean, they don't have an arena at this point for next year, period. There is, I mean, they could go and pay a high price for the Glendale arena, and I fully expect Glendale to soak them and probably, do what everybody does do when you don't have a lot of money, is you pay up front, right? So that's going to probably be the case. I still believe in the marketplace. I still believe that that's a good, a team that wins can be successful there. But everybody goes in with another agenda. They don't go in there with an agenda to create a good hockey environment. They go in to create a shopping mall. They go in to create a development. And that's exactly what's happening with Alex Morello and his group. They want to go to Tempe and create, condos and apartments and we'll have an arena too. So I think that there'll be, I think it was fortunate for the league that there is other news going on, because you're right. It would have been the number one story other than the Beijing Olympics. And it would have created a lot of consternation for Gary and Bill at the Board of Governors meetings. And it still might.
We could go on and on, John. There's so much happening in the National Hockey League right now, but thanks for focusing on the Canucks from your neck of the woods. Thanks for this, Johnny.
Johnny, quickly.
One day we'll...
in our Delaney's OK Tire and Langley inbox, John Shannon should be brought on as a special consultant. Do you have relatives in Vancouver still?
He's from BC.
I know, I'm joking. It's a joke. People love you.
That was my ghost account.
Yeah.
Hey, by the way, I remember the opening night in October of 1970. So in my heart of hearts, I'm still a Canuck fan.
Oh, there you go.
Thanks for this, John. Appreciate it.
Cheers.